At 2:17 a.m. local time, tensions along NATO's eastern flank escalate to their most perilous point since the Cold War, as the conflict in Ukraine enters a new, more dangerous phase. Russian strategic forces initiate a large-scale, multi-vector aerial assault targeting infrastructure deep inside western Ukraine. The attack is a complex, coordinated operation involving a combination of land-based and sea-launched assets. Initial reports indicate the launch of over 40 cruise missiles, including the 9M727 from Iskander-K systems and sea-launched 3 M14 caliber missiles. Simultaneously, a massive wave of more than 400 Shahid-type one-way attack drones is launched, their flight paths designed to saturate Ukrainian air defenses. The strategic objective appears to be the degradation of Ukrainian command and control nodes, energy infrastructure, and logistics hubs supporting frontline operations. This massive air assault unfolds against the backdrop of Zapad 2025, the largest joint Russo-Belarusian military exercise in years, creating a volatile security environment across Eastern Europe. At 3:45 a.m. local time, as Ukrainian air defense batteries engage the incoming threats, NATO's Integrated Air and Missile Defense System, NATO, detects multiple unidentified aerial tracks originating from the direction of Belarus and Kaliningrad, deviating from expected vectors toward Ukraine. These tracks are flying at low altitudes, consistent with the flight profiles of attack drones. Alarms are triggered at NATO's Combined Air Operations Center in Widening, Germany. At 4:10 a.m. local time, the situation escalates dramatically. Polish military authorities confirmed that at least 19 of these aerial objects have crossed into Polish airspace. In response, the Polish Armed Forces Command places its air assets on high alert. Polish Air Force F-16 fighting Falcon jets are scrambled from tactical air bases. Concurrently, as part of NATO's enhanced air policing mission, Royal Netherlands Air Force F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters operating from Malbork Air Base in Poland are also vectored to intercept the intruders. Subsequently, in a historic first, NATO aircraft engage and successfully neutralize Russian-origin military hardware over Alliance territory. Polish and Dutch fighter jets shoot down at least 3 of the intruding drones. This marks the first kinetic engagement between a NATO member's armed forces and Russian military assets since the commencement of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The Polish Prime Minister would later state that the nation is now the closest it has been to open conflict since the Second World War. By dawn, the immediate physical aftermath of the incursion becomes visible. In the eastern Polish village of Wierki, local emergency services inspect a residential house with its roof torn open, consistent with the impact of drone debris. Further investigations by Polish authorities uncover the wreckage of a damaged drone in Chosnovka and additional components near Chesenki. These fragments are secured for technical analysis to definitively determine their origin and capabilities. The political fallout from the incursion is immediate and severe. At 9 a.m. Warsaw time, the Polish government formally invokes Article 4 of the North Atlantic Treaty. This article is a mechanism for consultation, triggered when, in the opinion of any member, their territorial integrity, political independence, or security is threatened. This is a significant diplomatic maneuver, stopping short of Article 5's collective defense clause, but signaling a grave threat to the alliance. Poland's newly elected president, Karol Nawrocki, labels the incursion a deliberate test not only of Poland's defenses, but of NATO's collective resolve. The Polish government also announces the immediate closure of its airspace along the eastern border with Belarus and Ukraine up to an altitude of 3 kilometers and suspends all civilian drone activity. Across Europe, NATO allies react with unified condemnation and concrete action. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte decries Moscow's reckless behavior and reaffirms the alliance's unwavering commitment to defend every inch of NATO territory. In response to Poland's call for consultations, NATO launches Operation Eastern Sentry, a new mission designed to significantly bolster the air defense posture on the eastern flank. Within hours, Allied commitments begin to materialize. The United Kingdom announces the deployment of Royal Air Force, RAF, Typhoon fighter jets, and a Voyager air-to-air refueling tanker to Poland. France confirms it is dispatching a detachment of 3 Dassault Rafale multi-role fighter jets, complete with personnel, ground equipment, and munitions. Germany pledges to double its existing Eurofighter deployment in Poland, from 2 to 4 jets, and extend the mission's duration. Denmark also signals its intent to contribute aircraft to the operation. The objective of Operation Eastern Sentry is twofold: to provide a tangible deterrent against further Russian provocations, and to enhance surveillance and interception capabilities against the growing threat of low-flying, small radar cross-section drones. Moscow's official response is one of categorical denial. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov dismisses the Polish allegations as rubbish and accuses Warsaw of escalating the situation without evidence. The Russian Ministry of Defense issues a statement claiming its drones were exclusively targeting military objectives in western Ukraine and that no targets in Poland were planned. The statement highlights that their drones have an operational range of approximately 700 kilometers, attempting to debunk what it calls myths being spread by Poland. Washington's reaction is notably fragmented. U.S. President Donald Trump suggests the incursion could have been a mistake, a characterization flatly rejected by Polish officials. In contrast, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio terms the event unacceptable and dangerous, while lawmakers on Capitol Hill offer even stronger condemnations, with some calling it a direct test of NATO's resolve and an act of war. The drone crisis, however, does not occur in a vacuum. It coincides with Zapad 2025, a massive 5-day joint strategic exercise conducted by Russia and Belarus. This is the largest such drill since 2021, which took place just months before the invasion of Ukraine. Officially, the exercise involves 13,000 troops, but Western intelligence assessments place the actual number closer to 30,000, with some Russian officials boasting of up to 100,000 personnel participating across 41 training grounds, including naval exercises in the Baltic and Barents Seas. The stated purpose of Zapad 2025 is to simulate a 2-stage defensive operation. First, repelling a hypothetical enemy attack on the Union state of Russia and Belarus, and second, launching a counteroffensive to restore territorial integrity. However, NATO assesses the drills as aggressive warfare scenarios aimed at intimidating Poland and the Baltic states. The hardware displayed during Zapad 2025 underscores Russia's strategic messaging. The exercises feature strategic bombers like the Tu-22M3 and Tu-160, live fire tests of the Iskander-M short-range ballistic missile, the P-800 Onyx anti-ship cruise missile, and the Kh-47M, 2 Kinjal air-launched hypersonic missile, a weapon system that travels at over Mach 10, and simulated deployment of tactical nuclear weapons stationed on Belarusian territory. In direct response to the heightened threat posed by Zapad, Poland, alongside NATO allies, initiates its own major military exercise, codenamed Iron Defender 25. Billed as the largest training event for the Polish armed forces this year, the drills involve over 30,000 troops and nearly 600 pieces of heavy equipment. Polish officials state the exercise is defensive in nature, but explicitly designed to demonstrate readiness and deter any potential aggression stemming from the Zapad exercises. Days after the initial incident in Poland, the pattern of provocation is repeated, widening the front of concern for NATO. On Saturday, Romanian authorities report that a Russian-origin drone breached its airspace during another wave of attacks on Ukrainian port infrastructure on the Danube River. The Romanian Air Force scrambles fighter jets in response, and the Russian ambassador in Bucharest is summoned to the foreign ministry. This second incursion reinforces the assessment that these are not isolated accidents, but part of a calculated Russian strategy. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warns that Russia is deliberately expanding its drone operations, attempting to bring the war to Poland and the Baltic states, and urges allies to learn from Ukraine's extensive experience in cost-effective counter-drone tactics. The sequence of events represents a significant strategic inflection point. The consensus among Western military analysts is that the drone incursions were a deliberate act by Moscow. The primary objective was likely coercive signaling, to warn NATO member states against deeper involvement in the Ukraine conflict, particularly regarding recent discussions about potentially deploying Western troops as peacekeepers. By using unmanned drones, Russia is testing NATO's response thresholds without risking a full-scale military confrontation that would trigger Article 5. It is a classic example of hybrid warfare, designed to create fear, sow division, and probe for weaknesses in air defense systems. The response from NATO, centered on Article 4 and Operation Eastern Sentry, demonstrates a unified and firm, yet measured reaction. The incidents have, however, exposed a critical vulnerability regarding the unsustainable economic calculus of using multi-million-dollar missiles to counter low-cost drones. This reality has accelerated discussions about creating a layered, NATO-led, Iron Dome-style anti-drone shield across Eastern Europe. The situation remains highly volatile. The combination of Russia's aggressive military exercises and its willingness to violate NATO airspace has placed Europe in what Polish officials describe as an active fear zone. While the direct war between Russia and NATO is not assessed as an immediate Russian objective, the risk of a catastrophic miscalculation has increased substantially. The red lines have been crossed, and NATO is now reinforcing its eastern shield for a protracted period of heightened tension. For more updates, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the bell icon to get the next updates.